All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
When the world grows quiet and the daylight fades, we drift through the doorway that the moonlight made. Beyond every memory, beyond every fear, dreams paint a picture that only we can hear. They carry our questions on rivers of light, sailing through shadows in the middle of the night. A whisper from tomorrow, a lesson from the past, a fleeting constellation that was never meant to last. Dreams are the lanterns in the dark of the soul, guiding us gently where we're meant to go. Like a compass in the ocean, like a star in the sky, they teach us how to walk, they teach us how to fly. Dreams are the language of the heart set free, the bridge between what is and what could someday be. Some say dreams are memories, our minds rearrange, pieces of a puzzle forever set to change. Others say they're messages carried on the wind, opening hidden doors deep within. A mountain may appear where a challenge must be climbed, a winding road reminding us to trust the hands of time. A river is emotion flowing wild and true, and every flying moment says there's more that we can do. Dreams are the lanterns in the dark of the soul, guiding us gently where we're meant to go. Like a compass in the ocean, like a star in the sky, they teach us how to walk, they teach us how to fly. Dreams dreams are life's reminders of hope, faith, and love.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, and the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, right here in St. Catharines on the AM dial at 1220, and on their streaming service at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. The song that we came in with tonight is the song that is entitled Lanterns, and it's all about dreams. And, people dream. There are people that are dreamers. My mother used to call me a dreamer. There are people who daydream. And I have always thought the only difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. To me, the dream was the idea that laid down a basic plan, and I followed that plan to reality, and it worked all the time. Dreams have captivated human beings for centuries, X-Zone Nation, intriguing and bewildering us with their mysterious nature. From fantastical adventures to rehashed memories, dreams offer a glimpse into the enigmatic realm of our subconscious. My guest this hour is Peter Metzner, and we've had the pleasure of having Peter on the show before. And Peter, welcome back to the X-Zone, and let our listeners know, who may not have had the pleasure of hearing you the last time, who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure to be on the show. It's certainly an honor. So I do executive coaching and leadership work. I teach at the local university, leadership in a workplace. And I use dreams. I teach classes on dreams for coaches getting their certification. And I'm writing about dreams. I have a Substack, which will later become a book as well. And the whole idea is a quote from Carl Jung that until we make what's unconscious conscious, it'll create patterns in our life, and we'll call it fate. And so the dreams will reveal what we need to know but don't know in our waking lives.
What was it that triggered you into using dreams and the analogies that dreams bring to each and every one of us into your work today, and helping people learn and help you to teach?
Well, I'd say it was a midlife crisis for me. I climbed a ladder and I put it against the wrong wall. And at that time I was 40. So my midlife transition came right on time, age 40. Jung had said that the first half of life is a research project. So we adapt, we make a way for ourselves, and all that's necessary. But in the second half of life, the invitation is to become truly who we are. And I was chasing the almighty dollar, and I was doing work that I really wasn't trained for, wasn't passionate about, although I was making a good income. And I had a dream that I was stuck in a desert in a chain link fence, a brick wall, and there's a middle-aged guy keeping me from exiting into a beautiful, lush forest and really alive landscape. Wonder who that guy was. So I took it to an analyst, and it turned out that dream was a metaphor of my life, and that's when it all started.
What do our dreams reveal to us, Peter?
Our dreams will reveal every dream, any dream, even a meager snippet of a dream will reveal something that we need to know but don't know about our waking lives.
I was once told that a person cannot dream anything that they have not done. And this could be a pathway and an opening to the door of understanding reincarnation, past lives, multiple universes, multiple, what's the other word they use? Anyway, dimensions. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. The unconscious is so vast. And I remember talking to Robert Johnson. He had trained with Carl Jung. I'd been on a vision quest with him years ago. And I asked him, how is it that there are these precognitive dreams, that people can dream of events that hasn't happened yet? And his answer was, well, the unconscious doesn't play by the same rules that we do. So there you go.
When somebody dreams, what is the physiology of a dream? Like we know what the psychology of a dream is, but
Sure.
what is the actual physiology behind our dreaming process?
Well, let's say, I know this is radio, you can't see me, but I'm putting my hand on my forehead.
Right.
This is the executive function, and this is thinking, planning, impulse control. Oftentimes, the shoulds, the oughts, what we need to. So when we go to sleep, that part of our brain loses blood, the executive function. So the policeman is asleep, and then it shows the right part of the brain, which is typically associated with feelings, intuition, meaning, big picture. Nonlinear thought, that tends to get more blood flow. And so thus, oftentimes when we dream of these fantastical scenes, and we're also processing emotions. And so what's going to happen then in our unconscious, which is also, we could say, is housed there, beneath there, the unconscious is trying to give us messages through images of something that we need to know but don't know in our waking life, kind of like the reins of a horse. They're going to tell us if we're on the right track or wrong track. And all we have to do is start noticing and paying attention to them.
Speaking about horses, different people have different ideas of what symbols in a dream mean. So how can someone interpret the symbols that they see, hear, and feel within a dream?
So the first thing that I would say, what's the feeling that it gave me? So, at one time we had a horse farm. And so the association with horses for me was, my gosh, they need a lot of work, care, vet bills, etc. So I had a different sense. But horses typically show intuition. They're incredibly sensitive animals, very intuitive. And animals in general, could represent our instincts, a lion, or a porpoise, horses, etc. So typically animals represent our instincts. And so then depending on what the horse is doing, is it running free? Is it caged up? These are all aspects that we could ask to say, okay, what does this reflect about me?
Okay, I got you. You and I have to take our first break. Please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is Peter Metzner. And Peter and I will return on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCon Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Sailing through shadows in the middle of the night, a whisper from tomorrow, a lesson from... Inside this failing body, I'm still me. Morning comes before I'm ready, pain already at the door. Legs feel heavy, vision blurry, can't move like I moved before. I shuffle down another hallway, counting every careful step. Back and hips scream like thunder, but there's still fire inside my chest. They see the chair, the limp, the slowing. They see the naps I sometimes need, but they don't feel the silent battle or what it takes to simply breathe. MS has been my shadow soldier, marching with me all these years. And sometimes when the world keeps pushing, I break alone behind my tears. Inside this
Peter Metzner is our special guest, Exonation. His website is dynamicchange.inc.com. And he also has a Substack at phmetzner, that's metzner.substack.com. And Peter, if my memory serves me correct, you had a connection with your deceased dad in a dream.
Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you for remembering. My dad passed. He had a fatal heart attack when I was 18 and a freshman in college.
Hmm.
And we had a contentious relationship. He was authoritarian and I was particularly rebellious. And so that was a mix that led to a lot of conflict. And after he died, as I often did, I fell asleep on the sofa watching TV at home. And my mom put a blanket on me and then turned the TV off. And in my sleep, I experienced an orb of light that I recognized as my dad. And I was an orb as well. And we merged. And I felt such peace, such love, if I may. And it really helped me come to terms not only with his dying, but some of the healing that needed to happen, because of the dynamics of our relationship. So it was a very profoundly healing dream.
When people have nightmares, are they just the brain kind of purging information that we don't need, or is a nightmare a warning to us? And is that the way the body kind of shakes us by the shoulders when we're asleep and says, "Hey, pay attention"?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say that nightmares are trying to wake us up to something that we need to know but don't know. Now, an analyst, her name was Paula Reeves. She wrote a book on dreams and intuition. And in her research, she found that if we don't pay attention to nightmares, often they'll reoccur and reoccur. And if we don't get the message, it'll often lead to bodily symptoms. So the nightmares are really trying to shake us, wake us up to
Right.
something that we need to face in our waking life.
It seems that dreams are so very important in each and every one of our lives, and yet not a lot of people talk about dreams besides people
Right.
like yourself and
Hmm.
Craig Webb in Montreal. How come
Hmm.
nobody pays attention to dreams?
Well, I think many of us heard in childhood, "Oh, it was only a dream. Go back to sleep." I think
Hmm.
the deeper part about it is that human nature, we typically dismiss what we don't readily understand, or we become frightened of it. So, because dreams have an element of mystery, if we don't understand it, we can become frightened and dismissive of them. And to the rational scientist, oftentimes, well, it doesn't make sense to them because, they can't put the scientific method, so to speak, to them. Although there are rigorous studies, especially by people like Jung, Maria Louise from France, Jeremy Taylor, and a few others that have studied hundreds of thousands of dreams and found that they're like fingerprints and they tell us what we need to know but don't know.
And
Um,
yet dreams have fostered inventions, literature, songs,
yes,
influenced religions. And then there's that old adage, like, good question, let me sleep on it.
yeah, right. Isn't it interesting how many inventors had a cot in their room and they would get many ideas after their nap?
Mm. Now, how do you incorporate dreams in the work that you do as a leadership coach and in the training programs that you do?
If people are open to it. So I'll make an invitation first,
Hmm.
and if people are open, then I'll often encourage them to put their dreams down in a Word file and email it to me before a call. And I've had some very remarkable insights, or clients have had some very remarkable insights just doing that. And one stands out in particular, a very driven executive getting his PhD, working at a university, especially driven. And he had a recurring dream of being in a sports car, bumping into other cars, flipping over the rail. And he comes out okay in the dream. And to him, it didn't register that he was driving himself very hard. And that didn't register until he was in the emergency room with chest pain. Then he took that dream seriously, or that series seriously.
When you're out giving lectures and seminars, what are some of the questions that you are asked by the people in attendance?
So a lot of the most common one is I don't dream,
Hmm.
and the answer is, well, we all dream. It's just that we simply don't recall them. And two things about that: one is that dreams are like friends; they need to be welcomed, and so we need to be open to them. And then also have some kind of structure, notepad, or just something by our bedside so we can capture a fragment even to get the recall.
So if a person doesn't pay any attention to their dreams, does that mean that they're just, living by the seat of their pants, and they're not really paying attention to everything in their waking world?
I think that depends on the person. I don't think I can make that
Okay.
generalization, because there are some very reflective people that take long walks in solitude. You mentioned earlier daydreams, and
Yeah.
sometimes a walk in the woods, it allows the right brain to come up with an answer. The right brain not being linear. Sometimes this is why so many business deals and so many insights come on the golf course. You're doing something playful, and it's shutting down the rational mind, allowing the right brain to come. So there's many ways to access the unconscious. You mentioned daydreaming, and
Yeah.
that's also another form.
Yeah, no, what I was getting at, if a person says they don't dream, and if dreaming is so very important to our who we are,
Hmm.
does this also reflect on their waking reality?
It
That they
could
just,
very well.
yeah, this is where I was getting at with that analogy.
Well, it could very well be. I think it was Immanuel Kant who said moral certainty is the enemy of truth.
Hmm.
I'd say that, yes, that the more certain we are, we tend to shut out data that doesn't match our belief system. There's even a part of our brain that filters out data that doesn't adhere to our belief system.
I am a dreamer. I have dreams within a dream within a dream within a dream. And I can tell when I'm dreaming because in my dream, I will, you kind of wake up in a dream
Mhm. Mhm.
and I look around and I try to read a sign or a newspaper or a menu. And if it makes no sense to me, I know I'm in a dream.
Now,
And
fascinating.
that is when I just start having fun.
Yeah, I think what you're describing, Rob, is lucid dreaming, where you are dreaming but you're lucid,
Hmm.
and the fun is you're able to manipulate it and do some pretty amazing things. I
Yeah.
imagine travel and have some quite some adventures.
I do, and there are times, especially on the weekends, when I really don't have to do a lot of work.
Hmm.
I look forward to going to bed early
Ah,
so I
I
can
bet.
enjoy my dream world. And
Wonderful.
something else that I can do, and I'm sure other people can do this, is one dream one night will continue the next night.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah, I think you are a great example of taking an active approach or active imagination, and really making dreams, not only entertainment, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine a source of discovery.
oh, big time, big time. It's a lot of the. Well, I'll give you an example. The X game that I invented going back 15 years ago came to me in a dream.
Fascinating.
Some of the music I write comes to me in dreams.
Wow.
You know, um,
Yeah.
I love dreaming. It's a great source of inspiration, as you said before.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Well, to me,
hmm,
what you're sharing shows a very strong and deep relationship with your unconscious and your psyche, which is actually the Greek word for soul, and all of these things. And when I hear that, I could see how your vocation and your passion um, is all aligned, and you're using your whole mind to really do something remarkable.
and having guests like you on the show and having done, I think, what is it, Craig, over 22,000 interviews over the last
Mm.
35 years. I'm so fortunate because I can take pieces of information from every guest and kind of come up with my own little ideas,
Hmm.
and they work with me in my dream states.
Wonderful.
Do children prior to birth dream?
Prior to birth,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I can't help but think that they do. It's just that the brain hasn't been developed. So whether it be the recall or what, so there's a psyche or soul,
Hmm.
and that we are connected. There's a collective unconscious. Let's say the term Carl Jung used, that we're connected to the collective, and so that dreams also are giving us messages from that collective part. So um, even though before birth the brain has been developed, but there is something profoundly mysterious going on.
We truly are very interesting creatures, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact that animals dream.
Yes.
Gosh, I can always tell when our little fur baby Sophie is dreaming of running. Her little legs are going a mile a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because doesn't our body secrete a hormone when we go to sleep so that we will not act out our dreams?
Yes, ideally, so that yeah, our motor function needs to be shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a sleep disorder where that doesn't happen. And one fellow had to, wear boxing gloves,
Oh my
and
gosh.
also, yeah, because otherwise he would do harm to his spouse. And this individual is a reporter. And one time at a hotel, he jumped out the window in a dream. He felt there's a nuclear bomb from Russia going directly to his hotel room, and so he jumped out the window in his sleep.
Oh my good Lord. Uh-huh. All right, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. And Exxon Nation, our guest this hour is Peter H. Metzner. And if you'd like to find out more about Peter, and maybe you'd like to contact him for a one-on-one consultation, his website is dynamicchangeinc.com. And his Substack is phmetzner.substack.com. And Peter and I will be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Inside this failing body, I'm still me. Morning comes before I'm ready, pain already at the door. Legs feel heavy, vision blurry, can't move like I moved before. I shuffle down another hallway, counting every careful step. Back and hips scream like thunder, but there's still fire inside my chest. They see the chair, the limp is slowing. They see the naps I sometimes need, but they don't feel the silent battle.
Since 1990, through the dark of the night, one paper kept searching for the truth in the light. Where others stayed silent, afraid of what they'd find, the X-Chronicles opened up the paranormal mind. From UFO sightings crossing midnight skies to alien encounters and government lies, ghosts in the shadows, whispers from the dead, ancient gods and mysteries still left unread. The truth is out there, calling through the night, in the pages of the X-Chronicles, shining bright. From hauntings to disclosure, from science to the strange, exploring worlds and mysteries beyond the human range. The X-Chronicles newspaper.
Explanation, Peter Metzner is our special guest, www.dynamicchangeinc.com and phmetzner.substack.com. We were talking about dreams in the first section, in the first segment, and I find dreams are fascinating. And you gave the example about if the hormone isn't released into our body to kind of numb our motor skills, then like the friend that you, like the person that you discussed having to put on boxing gloves, so that he didn't hurt anyone plus himself during his dream states. Is this what causes sleepwalking?
Yeah, I think it's something similar. I was a sleepwalker when I was a child, and part of it is, you're unconscious, but your body's moving, and somehow the dream is not recognized as a dream, and then you move. So there are a number of people who do sleepwalk, and I haven't heard too many instances of somebody getting in trouble. Now, if you got in your car doing that, that would be very problematic.
Yeah, it certainly would. Mind you, the way I've seen drivers on the 401 here, I think that a lot of them are asleep. Yeah.
Could be.
So when we've got the entire scenario of dreams understood, and you've explained to us basically how you use the dreams to, I would imagine, to better understand the people that you're coaching. How do they feel after they talk to you and you've already looked at the dream and you're able to help them better understand who they are and to become better leaders?
Oh gosh, it really helps a person become a whole lot conscious. And as a coach, so my work is in writing and teaching about a coach approach to dream work. So it differs from therapy. Coaching is about life design, building on strengths and competencies to design a future. And dreams have been used in therapy, but I believe that a coach approach is very applicable. And when we become more conscious or more aware, we have choices. And so I don't presume to understand a client's dream, but I will say if this were my dream, this is what comes up for me. And so that way I can use my intuition and the client can accept what he or she is ready to or dismiss what doesn't resonate. And what happens is much greater clarity about behaviors, about the situation they're in, and ways to navigate it. And we talked a little bit about shadow in the past, and the parts of ourselves that we repress, if we don't have a conscious relationship to the shadow or accept it or integrate it, it wreaks havoc on our lives. And I've had a number of clients who really had some self-loathing that they repressed, and it kept coming out in self-defeating behavior. And when they got it, it was amazing how they were able to move forward in their careers.
Would it be possible for you and I, for example, to make an agreement, or, let's use the word agreement, to meet each other in a dream?
Yes.
And to help you as the teacher, myself as a student, to help me in a state that I feel more comfortable in.
I think that's very possible. And I could entertain the part that maybe if we did meet in a dream, you might be the teacher.
Why's that?
Well, all of your experience and what you've manifested with your show and your programs it's remarkable. So I think for me, I'll revert back to the premise of coaching,
right?
Is that all of us are genius. We have our own genius, and that as a coach, it's kind of reflecting back and helping a person recognize their own genius and make their own decisions. So as a coach, I don't want to presume to be the expert or that, but to help a person recognize their own brilliance.
So you're a human mirror.
It could very well be
right.
A mirror and maybe a guide, perhaps, to help a person start to look at themselves in a deeper or more meaningful way, and to rewrite some of the stories that may have been limiting them.
You know, my producer just sent me a note that when we have done call-ins with people who specialize in dreams like yourself, there's always one question that keeps on coming up, and that's when a person says, you know, I go to sleep at night and I always dream I'm naked standing in front of a bunch of people. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's common. Yeah.
And then another one, what was that, Craig? Oh, yeah. Another one is that a man is standing in front of an audience and his penis falls off.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. We got quite a few of those, yeah.
Okay. So to me, if would you like to go into those a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I think the naked one is when I think of naked, if it were my dream, and again, I don't know the nuances of each of the viewers' dreams, but if it were my dream, I'd feel like if I'm naked, I'm vulnerable, I'm unprepared, I'm unguarded, and I may not feel prepared to be doing what I'm doing. So that's a very interesting one. I've had dreams where I'm doing a workshop and I'm unprepared, or I'm not wearing my pants. I'm in my underwear. Um, so it could be that sense, okay, how prepared am I uh, to deal with this? And it could also be a vulnerability that I'm finally naked and I don't have my mask on, my persona, my badges, my power suit, or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think it could be a profoundly illuminating dream if there's a dialogue about it.
And I would imagine where the person's private parts fall off, could that mean that the person isn't very secure in their own sexuality and that they're questioning their sexuality?
I would say if it were my dream,
Yeah,
so not that way that I could own it, not to interpret it,
sure.
but if it were my dream, I think it would be something like that.
Yeah.
If I had a dream that my penis falls off, what is that a symbol of? Virility, manhood. And in a sense, if it were my dream and that fell off, I'd feel like maybe I've lost my masculine edge, my
Hmm.
virility, or the way I work in the world. So that's also very common. Losing teeth again is very common.
Hmm. I've heard about
In
that.
old
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, feeling toothless, and it could be an emotional sense of not being virile anymore. And then the question that I would ask is, what's the healing that dream is trying to bring? Because every dream is trying to heal us, trying to help us grow, to make us more aware. So that I would look at each of these dreams and then ask, so, okay, so what is the message the unconscious is trying to give us that's going to foster growth and healing?
Good questions. Good questions. Where does, oh, all right, so we understand when somebody goes to sleep, and you've covered that great, and I thank you for that. But what about daydreams? What do we know about why a person daydreams? Is it because they're bored? Is it because that they're not interested in what's going on, especially in a classroom? Or is there
Hmm.
something deeper that's going on inside this person's head?
I think it could be all of the above. I
Hmm.
mean, one of the greatest examples of a daydreamer was Einstein. And picture this: here's a young student who's made up his own religion in class, looking out the window. He didn't do very well in math, and so teachers thought there was something very odd about this person. And then here it is: he changed the world through his theory of relativity, which actually came from a dream, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, so, and then you have other people who just are oddballs and they're daydreaming. Thomas Edison was that way too. He would sit on eggs to hatch them as a kid, and he was another daydreamer, and he was a non-fit. And many of the people who shaped history were these daydreamers. So, is it ADHD for some? Maybe. I think technology has triggered so much ADHD and sugar and diet.
Hmm.
So that there is that kind of biochemical part, but many of the oddballs who didn't do well in grammar school, who were very unique and teased and often mocked, they became very influential because they were listening to something else that was going on in the world. They were non-fits.
I've often wondered if the world of electronics that we have at our disposal, the iPhones, the iPads, the
Mhm.
Bluetooth, and so on, if they interfere with our dream patterns.
I think they can. There's been a lot of research and studies that show a link between ADHD and technology.
Hmm.
They found it first with television, and now the constant texting and social media, constantly being pulled and then comparing ourselves, thinking that we need to look like other people, act like other people, and that can certainly affect our thinking. And then if we don't get regular sleep and staying on the computer at night or texting at night, it affects our circadian rhythms, and sleep deprivation is the enemy of dreams or dream recall. So we really need to have good sleep hygiene.
I was reading an article a couple of days ago where people who text a lot, like you were saying, their sleep cycles are totally out of whack.
Hmm.
Totally out of
Hmm.
whack. Like one lady was saying that she doesn't know what happened. She can't fall asleep before 4 o'clock, and then she has to sleep until noon in order to get her 8 hours sleep, and it's totally disrupting her life. So
Yeah.
how would somebody turn that around?
Well, I would look at the texting and the phones and these apps as
Hmm.
addictive. And in fact, they're designed to be addictive. It's a cheap way to get dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, comes from the pleasure centers of the
Hmm.
brain. So if we reach a goal, we hit a good golf shot, or do something that makes us feel good, dopamine's released. And the cell phones and social media is a cheap way to get dopamine, and it's highly addictive. And so once we get off social media or off texting, we have a void, and so we go back to it. And I think that's part of the problem. It's highly addictive, and if we don't live a full life, with interpersonal relationships that
Hmm.
are give us a sense of community, a sense of meaning, purpose, and goals, we'll fill it with these empty activities, and that can certainly impair our mental, emotional, psychological, and physical health.
Peter, stand by. You and I must take our final break for this hour, and I do thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. This has been a very interesting segment. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Peter, if you'd like to contact him for a one-on-one session, or maybe take some of his lectures, his courses, whatever he has to offer, visit his website at dynamicchangeinc.com, or visit his Substack at phmetzner.substack.com. I'm Rob McConnell. Peter and I will return on the other side of this break. Excuse me for that. I started to sound like Kermit the Frog. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
To alien encounters and government lies. Late night signals whisper through the sky, stories of the unknown drifting by, from shadows deep to stars above. The truth and mystery, what we dream of. From a humble start on AM air, a voice in the night reaching everywhere. St. Catherine's heard that distant tone. Rob McConnell's voice, the X-Zone. Through the years, through the miles, through the questions and the trials. Now we're back on 12:20 a.m. Classic sound, it begins again. CFAJ, your hometown radio, where the truth and the strange still flow. From Ontario skies to the great unknown, with Rob McConnell on the X-Zone.
And as the song says, we're right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight. And not only are we on the air on the AM 1220, you're on your tuner on your car radio, but they also stream us at classic1220.ca. And whatever you do, if you're listening to the radio, driving on the QEW, or if you're somewhere looking for the vineyards that are still open at this time of night, which there are none, people, you can always go down to Niagara Falls and enjoy yourself. They've got great stuff going on, 7/24, 365, a super casino, 2 super casinos. They've got theaters. They have restaurants. You name it, they have it. And come on down and see us here in Niagara. We're always welcoming people, but don't dance in your car when I'm playing these bumpers, please. I get more problems when you do that. I get calls from the Niagara Regional Police. I get calls from the Ontario Provincial Police. And they say, Rob, tell your audience. And they say, no, don't tell them anything. Ask them if they just wouldn't dance when you're playing your bumpers. So please, if you want to dance when I'm playing the bumpers, pull the car over. Would you do that for me? I don't want to get any more trouble. Peter Bordley, if you're listening to us on your way home from Niagara, I hope you're smiling with your beautiful wife, Joyce. It's a family show at times. There you go. Peter, you and I were talking briefly during the break about collective shadows. What are they?
Well, after World War II in 1945, Carl Jung was asked about the psychic condition of Germany. What's the future of humanity? That was the question.
Hmm.
And here's his response. It's not really history, it's more like a prophecy. And I'll quote him that he said, "No, the demons are not banished. That's a difficult task that still lies ahead. Every man who loses his shadow, every nation that falls into self-righteousness is their prey." And so evil does not disappear because we defeat it externally. The forces that erupt in war, hatred, fanaticism, scapegoating, collective madness, they're not confined to a nation. They're not confined to one ideology or an era. They live within the human psyche itself.
My
And that's
lord,
why,
my lord, it sounds like you just read the newscast from 6 o'clock tonight on CNN.
yes, this is the human condition.
Yeah.
This is our psyche. We have technology that's actually exacerbating the eruption of shadow work, or the lack of shadow
Mm-hmm.
work. Excuse me.
And how important is shadow work to the human psyche?
Well, let's look at it collectively first, then
Okay.
individually. So now, in the political spectrum, doesn't matter if it's right or left. It's the same ancient pattern. This is
Yep.
ancient. It's part of humanity. So certainty replaces reflection. Outrage replaces dialogue. Ideology replaces humanity, and people are sorted into categories of good or evil, and then with very little humility or humanity. And so this is actually the psyche splitting off, and there's good and evil in all of us. We're kind of like a battery. And if I can't accept the unsavory or moral aspects of myself, I'm going to project them out onto others. And when a nation believes that they're religious and that they're right, and people who don't believe that their faith or their way of life is the right way,
Mm-hmm.
then we can do horribly evil things. And sadly, I weep, just seeing the news every day
Yeah.
that this is happening, and it's part of the, unfortunately, the human condition. And we have such amazing technology, but we still are unconscious.
And this has been happening throughout history.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nothing new. And yet, how come with all the technology, all our know-how, all our education, how come we can't change it?
Well, I believe we can and we need to survive.
Okay, how do
And
we do that?
Carl Jung was asked in another lecture, and this is after the hydrogen bomb exploded. He said, "Dr. Jung, is there hope for the world?" And he said, "There is hope if enough of us do our work, our inner work." So that's the hope, that individually, now we go to individually,
Mm-hmm.
if enough of us do our work, become conscious and accept those parts of ourselves, and that's how we become whole, and if I may, even holy, to say, yes, we have the capacity to be like Martin Luther King or Mother Teresa, but also Hitler or Saddam Hussein or Trump, if I may.
Oh, you sure may.
That we have that, and
Yeah.
and if we can recognize that and accept it and integrate it, that's when we become whole, and that's when we can use that energy for good, for humanity, rather than destroy humanity.
So how do we get this message to the masses? How do we tell the the groups
Well,
that this is, look, come on, smarten up. We've got everything to gain and everything to lose, you bunch of morons.
that's right. That's right. Well, I think your show is a big step in that direction. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
how many viewers, I've lost track of the viewers that you have, but I think your show, and I like to say, for me, in a small way, I've created a Substack just for that reason, working with the shadow and dreams,
Mhm.
and elevating my work as a teacher and a coach is part of that. I think we need more and more and more people. And then people who get into leadership need, how do we elect leaders that are more conscious and integrated, and really, I'm going to use the term soulful intelligence, not
Mhm.
just IQ or EQ, but soulful intelligence.
A lot of questions. The answers are there. We just have to work at them and get enough people to join the band.
Yes.
It has to start with it as a grassroots organization and grow and grow and grow. It amazes me that people still go with the old. They don't want to change. And is it the fear of change that stops them, or is it because they don't want to think that they may not be part of the collective anymore if they break off and change.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. The first thing that comes up is ego.
Mm-hmm.
And from our perspective right now, ego has a need to be right, needs to defend itself, and feel separate. And so when we feel better than because of either our religion, our smarts, our degree, success, then that inflation is very dangerous. And there's shadow present there. And then the other part is it's in prehistoric times, if we left a tribe, it was deadly. You know, we could be mauled by animals
Yeah.
or another tribe. So there's this need to belong and a need to be part of a team. And I think that's the other part. It takes a lot of courage to step away from shared values. You might get shunned if you leave your religion.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage to come out and really listen to your own inner ding, so to speak.
How about the educational values that our children are being taught? I believe that education should be revamped. Should be. When I was going to school, everyone was on an equal platform. We all had to wear a white shirt. We all had to wear a tie, black shoes, and gray flannels. All the boys had to wear that. The girls had to wear a white blouse, I think it was something like a tartan skirt, and black shoes. Everybody, you didn't have the peer pressure that our kids have today. Some have $600 cell phones, $800 running shoes, and then you've got the little cliques, the little gangs.
Right.
Now I know why they call them the good old days.
Yeah, right. Well, we grew up in a childhood that didn't have cell phones. We couldn't be tracked. We could play. We could be creative, and I taught at a women's college for a number of years, and the women thrived there because they didn't have all of the other things of having to fit in or look pretty for the guys or that. They could just be very comfortable and psychologically safe, and many of them, it was such an amazing program.
Yeah, it's
there
pretty.
You go.
It's pretty bad as kids. We were, I don't want to go outside and play. Mom, go. And you had to come home when the lights went on.
Yeah.
You played. You got exercise. You ate good food. You didn't have all this fast food stuff that you are today. And you'd actually talk at the supper table. Mom and Dad would come home from work, and you were exchanged what happened during the day. How was your day? What did you do? But today, everybody sits at the table, and there's their iPhone, and away they go.
Yeah, and it really destroys conversations. I see it in the corporate world too. People come to a meeting, and they used to talk to each other. Now they're on their phones, doing work, email, or whatnot. And it used to be, hey, how's your daughter doing? How's your mom doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we really have to put boundaries around technology because it's so invasive and so addictive.
I'm so very happy to see governments that are actually outlawing the use of social media platforms for children under the age of 16 in the United Kingdom. Australia.
Yes.
Here in Canada, you can't take your cell phone into your class anymore.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Some schools in the United States are doing that
Really?
too. They're making kids put away their cell phones. They collect them,
Yep.
and they have, in case there's emergency, there's a teacher has a phone or whatnot, and the attention spans are increasing. The grades are getting better, and the whole social atmosphere is improving.
Well, my friend, the time has come when you and I must say so long for tonight. Peter, please do not be a stranger. The door is always open, my friend.
Thank you.
Continue the great work that you do, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Well, me too. Me too, Rob. It's an honor and a privilege, and I am so grateful to be here again.
The pleasure is all mine, my friend. Thank you so much. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact Peter, here's two websites. www.dynamicchangeinc.com, and his Substack is phmetzner. That's METZNER.substack.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news after the news that's coming up. Oh, geez. You can tell it's, let's see, what's today, Tuesday? Yeah. You can tell it's Tuesday. I kind of always get a little zippy on Tuesday, so let's try that again. I'll be back on the other side of the news at the top of the hour as the X Zone will continue with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the CanCom Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca. Don't go away.